And
Good
live.
evening, Rivers, and welcome to another edition of Rivet Says Rivet Flash. Remote Flash, working title.
Rivet Hangout Flash.
Hangout Flash? Hangout
Hang-
Flash on air? Remote
Hangout
Flash?
Flash. No, that's weird.
I'm sure we could come up with like an acronym and then just build the words around it, like SHIELD. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Tritus, and with me is Red. Good evening.
What's up?
You're in the exact same shirt you were wearing last time, too, weren't you?
I am, and it was not intentional this time. But
Yeah, and meaning you haven't taken it off in like a week?
no. I just I wore it last night, and so it was my pajama shirt today, and then I had to put on real pants and going to the liquor store after the Flash. So
Dang.
priorities.
Right.
Really hate it when I have to put on real pants.
It is a bit of a chapter, isn't it?
Yep.
So, on to the Flash.
Yeah.
So if you've not been living under a rock, you may have heard about our dear friend, astronaut Scott Kelly, who was in space for a year on the space station. He has just returned home this week, back down to the planet and back to his friends and family and all the good people at NASA. So what Scott was doing was an experiment on the effects of a person spending a year in space, away from gravity and all that good stuff. What's kind of cool about it is that the guy's got a twin brother who's also an astronaut. So the whole experiment was to do kind of a compare and contrast, like what's different between Scott and his brother. I believe his name is Mark. And what I'm curious about, I know they're doing a bunch of experiments and things of noticing long-term effects of radiation, organ shrinkage potentially. I know one big change that, which is probably temporary, that he is actually 2 inches taller than what he was. We were just having a fun little discourse right before we started the chat about gravity. That kind of does things. It's kind of important. So, yeah, so what I'd be curious about is some other parts of the experiment. Like, did they eat the same food? Like, did they have like a very strict diet? Like, I know they have a strict diet on the space station, but I mean, I wonder if his brother also had to stay to a similar diet in order to kind of to affect results and things like that. Did they have to do like similar comparing and contrasting exercises? So what is that? It's. I would love to see what's going to come out of that, because that's going to determine a lot of the big things that we want to be doing, like going to Mars and things of that nature. And I'm sure that's going to affect things like what Elon Musk is doing in wanting to ship a bunch of people off to Mars. So things like this are really going to be a big determining factor. So keep an eye out on that. And welcome home, Commander Kelly. Red,
Yeah.
what you got?
We should also probably clarify that, we use the term "he's our friend." We mean that in a very loose sense. We don't, in fact, know Commander Kelly.
Yeah, you can clarify that. Yes.
Yeah.
I called him before that. No, you're absolutely right.
Well, we kind of came off that way. As much as that may produce page views, probably shouldn't be claimed.
Our friend is another member of the human race, I guess, who's achieving cool things. I don't know.
Yeah, it was really impressive, and we're just happy that he did what he did.
Right.
Well, I tried to check Google Effects, and I couldn't find a pie. I was going to try to throw 3 pies on a Hangout. Contribution to the Flash this week. The 3rd edition of the Raspberry Pi has been released. As you know, I'm a big fan of the Raspberry Pis and the single board computer. I'm also a big fan of actual baked Raspberry Pis, as Ash would probably say something about if she were with us.
I would imagine.
As a present on the Hangout, she's still with us in theory.
Yes, she's
Well, I
alive.
didn't want to imply that
She's alive and well. I just got her.
So the new version of the Pi is 64-bit, so that's pretty great. I can't tell from what I've read if it's still x86 or if we're dealing with 64-bit ARM. From the price point, I am guessing it's still ARM or some other type of mobile processor as opposed to full-on x86. but they are sticking to the $35 price point. So I'm probably going to have to pick one up soon. But yeah, it's good to see that that project is succeeding, and it still revolves around teaching people to program. So as much as they've had retail success with the Raspberry Pi, they're taking that money and they're progressing towards their goal, and that's pretty great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm flirting with a few ideas for another Pi project, but I'd like to write about one of those again soon. So
yes, Pi 2.0, the bigger Pi.
yeah, with more Pi, additional Pi.
There's a Pi button.
I'm sure that there is. But yes, that's what I got.
Fantastic. We both have our way with
We have a right of what?
our way with words today.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Well, good. It's been an eventful week. So as we all know that we have a Kickstarter campaign up for our Warcraft fan film. Please consider checking it out and toss a couple bucks our way. Or at least if you can't, to completely understand, please just give it a share with your friends. It'd mean the whole world to us, and to be able to make this as awesome as it can be with your guys' help. So we really appreciate anything you got. We have some really awesome rewards on there. Things such as miniature props, Q&As. We're going to make a replica of the shield that's going to be in the video, things like that. So give it a check it out, and if you have any questions, please feel free to hit us up. Yeah. That's all I have. I was also on a podcast this week. Brain Invaders podcast is hosted by our friend, and this is a real friend, real life friend.
Yeah, person we actually know.
Person I actually know, Thomas, and Thomas and his friend Chuck, who run a little podcast called Brain Invaders. They also run a site called Jersey Studios, and they host a number of different other podcasts, things such as PEBCAC, which is a bunch of IT guys get together and put things together and talk shop essentially. And Brain Invaders itself, just hanging out, a couple nerds hanging out and doing things. So it's fantastic. It was a lot of fun. They had me on. It was really good just to talk movies and general nerdery. So it was great. So shout out to those guys. Thank you to both of you guys for having me on. It was a blast. Look forward to collaborating in the future.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I forgot.
Oh.
I built my first Magic deck. And by I mean I went down to one of our local game shops, Highland Games, not too far from my place, and built my first Magic deck. It's black-white. And I was able to fight Didact to a draw, which for me I felt was was an accomplishment. My prior exposure to Magic, I had played with one of his decks. Ashley beat us like redheaded stepchildren. It was bad. As a redheaded stepchild, I can say yes. That is how it happened. And then Spencer and I one-on-one did not go well either. He beat me pretty handily, but I think my buddy Lee over at Highlander did a pretty good job.
And he's your actual buddy right now.
We've hung out and played Magic a couple times, so yeah, I'm gonna call him buddy.
Perfect.
And so if you're local Minneapolis, Highlander Games is in Columbia Heights, and nice little local shop, and figure I'll just plug them because they good people.
Hey man, that's what we're about. Want to spread the love, as it were, for our the friends that we not only know, but our friends that we don't know.
Yes.
All right, cool. This is good. This is good stuff. So that's our Root Flash for this evening. If you have any questions, anything that you want to throw up in the comments, you like our stuff, anything that we should include, I'm considering bouncing around some ideas in my head of some more structured things that we could do with this. So if you have any comments, feedback, let us know in the comments.
Say it again, one more time.
Comments. It's like, meow. All right, cool. All right, have a good night. See you next week.
See you guys.